Charles Lucky Luciano was a notorious figure in 1930s New York. He rose to prominence during Prohibition. Luciano was shrewd and ruthless. He saw immense profits in illegal liquor. He climbed the ranks of the underworld. Luciano helped form the modern Mafia. He established new criminal enterprises. These included gambling and narcotics. His reign was challenged by Thomas Dewey. Dewey aimed to dismantle organized crime. Dewey was determined to bring down Luciano. Luciano was a master manipulator. He insulated himself from prosecution. Dewey's team faced a difficult challenge. They needed to connect Luciano to criminal activity. Luciano was known for his caution. He rarely involved himself directly. Dewey's investigation needed to be thorough. It had to be innovative to succeed. Thomas Dewey's crusade against organized crime wasn't just about Lucky Luciano. He targeted vice in all its forms. Dewey launched raids, disrupting prostitution rings. These raids netted numerous arrests. Florence "Cokie" Flo Brown, a prostitute in Luciano's network, was arrested. She provided crucial testimony. Her testimony linked Luciano to the criminal activity. Luciano began to realize the gravity of his situation. The trial of Lucky Luciano was a media sensation. Reporters and spectators packed the courtroom daily. Dewey presented a compelling case, painting Luciano as a ruthless manipulator. He argued Luciano was behind a vast prostitution ring. Witnesses, many former prostitutes, testified about brutal conditions. They described beatings, threats, and forced addiction to drugs. Luciano, maintaining his innocence, listened intently. The defense countered, claiming Luciano was a legitimate businessman. They argued witnesses were lying for leniency. After weeks of testimony and intense deliberation, the jury reached a verdict: guilty. Luciano was convicted on 62 counts of compulsory prostitution. The courtroom erupted in chaos. Luciano, visibly shaken, remained silent as the verdict was read. His lawyers immediately vowed to appeal, arguing that the trial had been unfair and that the prosecution had engaged in misconduct. The trial's fairness has been debated by legal scholars and historians ever since. Critics argued that Dewey's tactics were overly aggressive. They questioned the reliability of some witnesses. Some suggested that Dewey, driven by political ambition, had manipulated the legal system to secure a high-profile conviction. Others maintained that Luciano, despite his claims of innocence, was guilty of the crimes for which he was convicted. The trial of Lucky Luciano marked a turning point in the public's perception of organized crime. It exposed the brutal realities of the prostitution racket and the exploitation that fueled it. The trial also demonstrated the potential for law enforcement to dismantle even the most entrenched criminal organizations. Luciano was sentenced to 30 to 50 years in state prison. He was initially incarcerated at Sing Sing, New York's most infamous penitentiary. Despite his imprisonment, Luciano continued to wield considerable influence within the criminal underworld. He maintained contact with his associates and directed criminal activities from behind bars. World War II presented an unlikely opportunity for Luciano. With the United States at war, the government sought to secure American ports from sabotage. They believed that Luciano, with his extensive underworld connections, could provide valuable intelligence and assistance. In a controversial move, authorities offered Luciano a deal assist with wartime efforts in exchange for a reduced sentence. Luciano, eager to regain his freedom, agreed. He provided information and used his influence to prevent sabotage by Axis sympathizers. His cooperation, however controversial, proved beneficial to the war effort. In 1946, in recognition of his wartime assistance, Luciano's sentence was commuted. He was deported to Italy, where he lived until his death in 1962. The trial demonstrated that even the most powerful criminal figures were not above the law. Subscribe for more videos on notorious figures in history.